Our new co-host is so fun. Her last name is Delkey. Yay! This is our first ever bonus episode. Normally, we don't deliver anything every other week, so this is pure icing on the cake.
I'm flattered.
Welcome to The Elephant in the Room. I'm your host, Cyrus Pearson, and my co-host has changed, and we are just about to introduce her. Are you ready? Her name is Sophie. I'm so sorry. Sophie, I got it right off the bat. Sophie Delkey. You can hear her laughing. How do you pronounce your name, Sophie?
Delkey. Sophie Delkey. Did you do that on purpose?
I did not.
He does so much that I just can't tell if he's being sarcastic or not.
I did not on purpose call you Sophie. Should we start this over?
No, that was fun.
Okay. So, Sophie, welcome to
hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
I just want to clear something up.
Yes, absolutely.
He did not call me Selfie because I take selfies. I want that to be entered to the record.
No, I did not know that. In fact, you have a position on selfies. Are you pro or anti-selfies?
When I was younger, I was definitely pro, right? Like you're finding your identity, yeah, and then you grow out of it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I'm like there's no hope.
Yeah.
Selfies don't look good. They're not cool. Yeah, it definitely depends on the context. I would say like they're extremely appropriate when you're doing one with like your grandfather or your grandparents or like little kids.
Yeah.
Or friends. I mean, it depends. Look, I don't want to come off as a selfie hater here. I just wanted it to be known
She's so polarizing.
that I'm not a selfie taker.
Okay, you have been excellent so far. I haven't been, and let's keep this up. Let's get to know you. A six-pack with Sophie, and we're not going to drink quite yet, maybe on a future episode. Let's have 6 questions I'm going to ask you, and we'll get to know who you are. Here's question number 1. Favorite food or foods?
Okay, so generally these questions are terrible, right?
Yes,
like your favorite XYZ.
I hate even asking it.
Yeah, it's not great. But my response might be a little bit more interesting than your average.
That's what I was hoping. Terrible question, great response.
Well, that's good. So I grew up in France, so I'm very gustatory curious, as my mother likes to say.
Wow.
I'll literally eat anything. Like I really will.
Okay.
I'll draw the line at like insects. Actually, that's not true. I really don't like to eat highly processed foods.
So snails is the first thing that comes to mind.
Well, that's funny you say that because I'll give you like a little story.
Okay.
So my parents divorced when we were living in France, and I moved back to the United States at about 6 or 7. And it was one of my first days of school, and actually it was probably the first day of school. And our teacher said, okay, let's go around the room and have everybody introduce themselves and say their favorite food.
Okay.
So I was never really a shy kid. I was very comfortable in my own skin. So people start going around the circle and they say, hi, I'm Susie and my favorite food's hot dogs. I'm Alex. My favorite foods are Oreos. And it gets to me and I say, hi, I'm Sophie and my favorite food is escargot. And the entire room bursts out into laughter.
Yeah.
And I like caved into myself. I was so embarrassed.
Terrible.
It was so embarrassing.
What grade was this?
I was 7. So what is that?
Oh, I don't have a clue. And I have kids around that age.
Yeah. It was sad.
Yeah. And as a parent, I bet the teacher, you see something like that. It is one of the cutest things, but it's devastating.
It was
to
awful
a kid when that happens.
Yeah. It really was so impactful though that I stopped speaking French for like a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I tried to like fully Americanize myself. I was like, okay. And I remember so well one of the little kids saying, what did she just say? And I was just painfully embarrassed. It was so embarrassing.
Wow. You never know what you're going to say that's going to have an effect on somebody else.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing us down, Sophie. on question number 1.
Well, the thing that makes it worse is that it's not like I just said something in French. It was like, no. She literally said her favorite food was snails in French. So I was the weird kid for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would not have guessed, okay? I think you've grown out of it. You've recovered.
Thank you very much.
Your American accent is outstanding.
Oh, thank you. I'm faking it all.
Question number 2. What is one of your favorite movies and why? I'm going to win an Emmy for these.
Yeah. So again, a complicated response for your very simple open-minded question, shall I say.
This is my goal, okay? I'm a vessel for you to answer these.
I don't have a favorite movie. I really don't. I like movies, when I'm watching them, they're fun. I have an opinion on them.
Okay.
But something my grandmother and I bond on very much and very well is that I forget movies. I watch them and then it is almost like it's erased from my memory immediately. So I don't remember movie titles. Like, I'm not the type of person that can quote a movie. And when people do that, I'm like, wow, how does your brain just really absorb that information?
You ever watch a movie and somebody knows every line and is saying it the entire movie?
No, because I don't surround myself with people like that.
Wow. All right. A little movie snob
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Don't talk during Sophie's movies.
No, I'm just kidding. If anything, I'm the one that's talking during the movies and my boyfriend hates me for it. But it's more so just the commentary.
Yeah.
And I'll look at him to make sure that he saw what I saw. And he's like, yeah, no, babe, we're watching the same movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's have a trifecta of these types of questions. What kind of music do you listen to?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's also a tough question because I listen to a lot. I really, do you know the artist Tom Misch?
No. So obscure music. Okay.
Yeah. He's really good. I mean, he's become more mainstream, I would say. Like, he got
I'm not
really
really
popular.
tapped into the music scene.
Okay.
I'm like a country, pop, anything poppy, oldies, classical.
I'm oldies. I don't really listen to classical unless I'm, really trying to focus on something, or it's,
stuck on
raining
an elevator.
Yeah. Or if it's raining really hard and I'm driving, for some reason, I'll just crank up the classical and make myself a movie, really.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, it's such a weird thing to say. I'm sad that people are going to hear this, but so Tom Misch did a NPR Tiny Desk session and that got him more famous. And I think that was in 2020. So he started to become more popular on, Spotify and all the streaming platforms that we love.
Oh, yes.
And that we are
kids.
on.
Yes. Us children.
But he does a really cool mix of, he has saxophone and guitar.
I play the saxophone.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Let's make this about you.
Okay. Go ahead, Sophie. Excuse me for interrupting.
No. Tell me more. So did you learn in high school or as a kid?
I will not tell you anymore. Yes. I actually wanted to play the trumpet. They said my grill was too jacked, and so they forced me into saxophone. I think the reality is they just needed more saxophonists.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I got stuck with the sax, but I ended up getting a small band scholarship in high school.
Wow.
I played sports too. And
he is cool, people.
Yeah. If you didn't think so, when they asked me to join the marching band in college, I said, "Forget you." I said, I honestly, I know it must be tough, to recruit people. And the guy was like, "Actually, we're really good, and we have no issues." And he hung up the phone on me.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's not connect the dots to where I went to college.
They've got beef with you.
Yeah. So go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, no, I wanted to respond to that. The saxophone is, I would say, the best instrument that someone can play. I love it.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. If there is a live band on stage and they have a saxophone out, it's going to be a good time.
I will probably cut this part out, but when I left, I was in the state of Maryland, one of the top 2 or 3 saxophonists coming out of high school.
No way.
Seriously. Yeah.
You should not cut that part out. That's amazing.
We'll see where this goes.
Do I have anything else to say about Tom Misch? Let me
go
touch.
ahead. We didn't learn hardly anything. He got onto his streaming platforms, then what?
Well, let me touch more on the music thing.
Yes.
I'm not a country listener, and that's been really hard for Will, my boyfriend, because he's from Ohio. He didn't really used to listen to a lot of country music, but he was on the road. He was on a campaign, and he really just dove deep into country music scene. So when he takes a shower, he'll listen to it, and I can hear it from the other room. Okay. And I'm like, okay, he knows that that's his time, his country time. But it's hard, I think, especially as conservatives, there's a lot of country music culture.
Yeah.
And it doesn't speak to me.
There's an overlap there.
Yeah. We do listen to a lot of jazz, though, but cool jazz. Thievery Corporation, who is born and bred in D.C., which is cool.
They had a club down here. I haven't been in a while, so I don't know if they still have it.
Which one? You're not talking about 18th Street Lounge?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. R.I.P. That was such a great spot. Yeah. Wednesdays nights was reggae night. They had the Gold Room.
Been there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a classic.
More I could say, but not on the air here. Okay, any hobbies that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't have a lot of time with work.
I understand that.
Yeah, we work in a very fast-paced environment, but I do a lot of yoga.
Very
I
nice.
am a certified yoga teacher, and I have been for coming up on 10 years now, actually.
Seriously?
Yeah, I got certified when I was 18, so I'm 28. And it was my like graduation from high school present to myself.
Wow.
Yeah, my great-grandmother left me just a little bit of money when she passed away. And so I took that. I went to Mexico for a month. My mom came with me, but it was super intense. I mean, it was 10-hour days. And it was the most accelerated growth I've ever had in my life for sure. Like spiritually, physically, it was super intense. It was awesome. And so then I taught private yoga lessons and I taught in a studio, and then I stopped teaching during COVID. They had offered me the studio where I was teaching if I wanted to teach online, and teaching yoga for me was more for me. Like it wasn't for the cash and it wasn't really for the students. I would be driving to a yoga class that I was going to teach, dreading it. I don't know why. And it doesn't help that my studio is quite far.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would come out an hour later from the studio and cloud nine, like just an instant, mental health fix. So I haven't taught since then, and I do want to start getting back into it. A lot of life has been happening.
Yeah.
But I'll start teaching again soon. Or I actually was thinking about maybe starting like a yoga club for Hill staff and doing, yoga classes when it's nice out.
So yoga I had never done in my life. I started a 12-week workout plan, which involved yoga on Saturdays and basically what I like to call yoga light on Sundays. And I went and started doing an hour and a half of yoga, which
That's
to
a long
me
time.
was excessive, going from nothing.
Yeah,
So we did.
that's a lot.
Yeah. And so it was, what are the two things? You got static pose and stretching poses? Is
Yeah,
that right?
you have balance.
Okay.
Yeah, you have like inversions, you have balance.
So for 45 minutes, I do one and then 45 minutes the other. And it really is transformative. I mean,
Yeah.
you hear this from completely sane people.
Yeah.
Like Lane in our office.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's completely sane, but, he's a normal-ish person. And
Yeah.
he just talked about how yoga was, it had this thing to it.
Yeah.
And it does.
It really does. So I have a funny story about this. On like one of the last days of our yoga certification, actually, our instructor and the trainer, shout out to Divana Yoga out in Mexico.
Shout out.
Shout out.
What up?
Oh my gosh.
Mexico?
That is so 2005 that I just did that, but it's okay. She played like a little documentary, and it was about this guy who was working on Wall Street, and he wanted to like debunk
Wolf
how
pose.
yeah yeah he wanted to debunk how yoga actually changes you spiritually. He was like, no, I know that it's like a workout, but it doesn't actually transform you psychologically or spiritually, and that's all bogus. So what he did is, I can't remember the time frame. I don't remember if it was like a month or 6 months or a year. He went out to India. And he met with
he got in deep.
Yeah, he went in deep. I mean, this was like an experiment that he did.
Sure.
And he
Great
met
concept.
with all of the yoga gurus. He did the trainings. He did the blah, 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 he did everything. And they did like, I think it was a year, because they came back after a year, and the documentary
Right.
producers and directors, they sat down with him for like a final interview and like a catch up. They were like, yeah, so like, do you think that yoga transformed your life? And do you think that you had this like awakening moment? And he was like, no, I really don't. Like everything about me is the same.
Okay.
And they said, oh, okay, so are you still working on Wall Street, or, what do you do now? And he goes, no, I quit my job and I bought a ranch out in Colorado, and I just do yoga every day and I rock climb. And they were like, okay, yeah. No transformation, right?
Yeah, main transformation, less self-aware.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
No, that's a great concept. I'll probably actually watch that.
Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, for me, it was the connection of like the mind and body. And there was a soulful element to that, right? Like once you put your body into sync, you feel better. And it's almost like that's how we're supposed to be all the time. But we lose sight of that when we're, working, and no matter what industry you're in. So anyways, biggest hobby I would say is yoga, although I really don't have that much time to do it.
Consumer habits, obviously, question number 5. I mean, you meet somebody, you want to know about that. Now, in all fairness, we did talk about these a little bit beforehand, although no specifics about the answers. Are you a frugal person, or do you see something expensive and you're like, I have to have that, or some happy medium? Tell me about it.
So just to give the listeners a little bit of background, we were talking about death by decision.
Mm-hmm.
And just, shopping in that way. And I laughed and I was like, would you like to know about my consumer habits?
Yeah.
And I am an extremely frugal person.
Okay.
And Will is probably listening to this and he can attest to it. I do not purchase anything without doing research on it.
Yes.
And it doesn't, I want the cheapest and I want the best quality.
Yep.
And I'm willing to put the time into it
Best thing
to
about
make
the
sure I'm
internet.
getting that.
Yeah.
Best thing about the internet, except there are a lot of websites like, Amazon, where you actually don't know the country of origin of where things are coming from. And this is going to get a little bit political, but we recently bought tea bags.
Mm-hmm.
I had the loose leaf chamomile tea, like I had the tea flower, but I didn't have tea bags. So I bought the tea bags and they looked great. It was like 100% natural and biodegradable, and it had the ingredients listed out, and it was essentially just like paper, non-bleached paper, it was good. And I got it, and it was wrapped in plastic packaging with a bunch of Chinese letters on it.
Okay.
And I was like, well, that just seems a little weird to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if your product is, geared and targeted towards these people who care about that, I'm like, okay, so this has been, on a ship or on a plane. It's wrapped in plastic. What has it been treated with? How has it been manhandled? It just felt weird. So anyways, they have been returned.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But so I like to put a lot of research. I want to make sure that I know what I'm putting in my body and I know what I'm consuming and using. And
All right, let's talk about you coming to Capitol Hill, because that's where we're doing this podcast. You are the new co-host for The Elephant in the Room. We're going to have senators right here to talk to. Have you talked with a ton of them one-on-one, and what are you interested in getting out of that, or where would you like to see this go?
yeah, I haven't. I mean, I've had some personal conversations with some senators just working here, and my boyfriend also working in the Senate, but I am very excited. Most of the time when you see a senator speaking, they have had, talking points prepared, or they're going on TV, and so they're talking about a very specific issue.
Very much so.
So
yes.
this is a really important and amazing opportunity to find the human behind the politician.
Yes, absolutely.
I really want to know, who they are as people. And it's something that we never see. It's a very rare opportunity. And I hope that our listeners can see that too, that this is, there's not many other public forums out there where you're going to get really to see who these people are and
Yeah.
why they came here.
Boy, did you hit the nail on the head.
Why, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to steal every word of that in the future.
You may.
Now, we did have Christy, our co-host, leave to take on what she considers a more important job. Just kidding. And I did have a chance to ask Christy if she had any advice for you, and she didn't really. I said, well, what do you think about Sophie? And I'd like you to listen to her response.
Oh.
I listened to Sophie's test run podcast, and
Did everybody listen to that? It has more listens than our actual podcast.
I demanded to.
Oh, okay.
And she, what the word came up to mind was delight. She's delightful. She feels joy and she spreads it. Like things, she's excited and she's happy. And I'm like, oh, I like this person. Versus like, I'm sort of like policy curmudgeon. Like if there's a little troll sitting under a bridge, I'm either that troll or next to it, right? And Sophie is on the bridge, like throwing like confetti and sunshine. And she's like, you're gonna have so much fun with Sophie. She's so charming, and like honestly, like I'm just a wasp. Sophie's like, I'm French. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
What do you think about that?
That's so amazing. Well, first and foremost, I'm blushing. I'm speechless. Christy and I are good friends, and I'm so sad to see her leave. But the reality of it is that she's just too smart for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially me. Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, but
Well, she had nothing but glowing things to say about you.
Oh.
I asked her at first, I was like, any words of advice for Sophie? And I mean, there was like a 6-second pause, and I was like, do you hate her? Is that what's going on? No. She came back with that. So I'd say you are Christy approved, and I think that probably, I'm putting words in her mouth, helped her transition knowing that this is in good hands.
Oh, that's super sweet.
Thank you for joining us on The Elephant in the Room and getting to know a little about Sophie. We'll learn more and more about her over the coming weeks. Thanks for tuning in to this bonus episode. As mentioned earlier, we'll be back on our regular schedule next week. If you haven't subscribed, now is your chance. Again, you can hear Sophie's first actual interview with a real live United States Senator. The Elephant in the Room is brought to you under the direction of U.S. Senator John Barrasso and a whole team of people, including Arjun Modi, Carly Rapp, and Elena Seiler. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on The Elephant in the Room.